I'm here with Emily Hastine. It is July 20th, 2017. It's about, I would say, about 1:30 in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. I know it's late. Um, do I have your full consent to record you audio and video?
Yeah.
Okay, Emily. So since the 16th, it's been about 4 days. What information do you have?
Well, I met up with John and started talking to him, and he told me a few things. He told me that the bones that he supposedly brought to Aruba with him were animal bones, and I thought that he was like lying about it. And then he stuck on a story that he had them in his boxers and brought them with him. And when they went and supposedly retrieved them from his aunt's house, he had them in his boxers. So when the video was taken of him, unburying them, that he had slipped them out of his boxers and made it look like he was doing that. And that's what I asked him too. I said, well, the bag, was torn and old. And he said that he hadn't made it look that way. And then he also told me that he has been nervous because the spot that he took Gabe to originally, where Gabe had said that her skeleton originally was the true spot. And he said that he was not worried about any DNA being found there because in the desert, it's so hot that any DNA would have been gone by the time because it's in the desert. But he did say that was the real spot that her skeleton originally was unburied from. What he told me was that
Where was the spot? What spot did he tell you? Was it in the ground? What spot?
it was in some, I don't know, like far back in the brush, underneath some, it was buried under rocks. And he said the show that Natalie's father has coming out, the series where Gabe tells them the rocks is exactly where the body was. And it was just underneath, brush and rocks and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he proceeded to tell me that when they unburied her, him and Iran, I guess 7 years ago now, he was working as a manager for his aunt who sold real estate. Well, there was a home fairly close by that spot, and he said it was luckily under his luck fairly close, and he had been taking care of the home. Well, the home had a backyard that was, like a fence that was like cement. And he said that him and Euron had been, helping out with work on the house while it was up for sale. And that's where they took the skeleton. And he said, because I asked him, I was like, weren't you scared like neighbors would hear? Or how did you get away with, doing this in a backyard? And he said he wasn't worried because the fence was cement and they were paying lots of attention. But he also told me one thing that always scared him was the fact that, they did it in this backyard, and there's without a doubt could be like tiny pieces of bone or DNA in the backyard that would definitely be picked up by a dog. But he is convinced that no matter what, he is safe because the house is sold now, and the owner, they can't just, the FBI or whatever couldn't just get into this house. Because what are they gonna knock on her door and be like, oh, we need to, check out your backyard? So he said he's always been scared if anyone were to find the house, there would definitely be DNA. At the time, he was scared because it was a house up for sale and it was under his aunt's name. But he said, first, without a doubt, there would be DNA in this backyard. And he just, said that. Obviously, I've never been to Aruba, but that it was right near their site where her skeleton was originally buried by Euron and his father. And without a doubt, though, that there would be DNA there. He was stuck on that. And he's 7 years later, the house is owned. I have nothing to worry about. I asked him about I told him that I knew that after like being 2 or 3 miles out of from shore that there you would be radared on a boat. And I was like, how do you and your aunt just, go to somebody and ask to rent their boat? Like, wouldn't that be suspicious? Like, the fact that you guys, your aunt had murdered this girl or whatever, then whatever has been made of it, to just go rent a boat at nighttime. And John said, well, he didn't bring your aunt with him. He went by himself. And he said it's not irregular for, tourists to want to rent a boat to go night fishing. So John went by himself, and this is 5 years after anything had happened with Natalie. And he went by himself and said he wanted to go night fishing. So, the fisherman rented it out and was like, just put it in this spot at whatever, whenever you're done. And that was it. So they went out that night, and he just said, on, this side of the lighthouse, the water is very calm. He said he didn't even go a mile offshore. He said, just there's a lighthouse, and like on this side of the lighthouse, the water is calm. And for whatever reason, when you go on the other side, the water is very rapid. And he said it was so quick that no one could have seen it being dumped, and it was nighttime. He said that they went over there, and it was so quick, like in the blink of an eye, they dumped everything out. And that was it. They just went back, and I don't know anything else he told me. I don't know. That's about all he told me. But he did say for sure the spot that Gabe had showed them was the spot where her bones were originally buried by your aunt and his father. And when he did unbury them, it was, by fate that it was near a house his aunt was, trying to sell. And I think that's about all I got out of him.
Well, thank you. And let me know if anything else more develops.
Gotcha.